Hello and welcome to this new episode of Open Book Entrepreneur. Today we have Luke here with us. He's got an amazingly interesting story. He's been professional, semi-professional footballer, and then move into fitness and coaching. And yeah, Luke, I think the best thing it will be that you actually introduce yourself to our audience.
No problem. Well, it's a pleasure to be here, Tony. I appreciate this opportunity. I think we was talking beforehand about a one sentence. So just to give your audience context, failed professional footballer turned into a business builder and helping people feel that sense of belonging and connection through building communities.
Great, yeah. And so what is business builder?
So I call it like business building because I predominantly work with people that are feeling trapped, not really sure where to start in employed roles, but they feel that they've got capabilities of more, but they're not sure where to explore that. Maybe they're not in the right environment, right communities. So I guess I'm really sort of facilitating and building that foundation with them.
Great, yeah. And so what inspired you to actually get into this line of business after, being a professional sportsman?
Well, I mean, I'd always been a leader. I'd always been a captain of a football team. Everybody sort of said, Luke, you're the guy that seems to pick everybody's energy up. I mean, they pick me up as well when I'm down. Obviously, captains, humans, we're not always on our A game. And it just got me in the space of, okay, so football, is it going to happen anymore for me? And I had to make a decision. It was actually probably one of the hardest decisions I made in my life at the age of 22, that I sort of retired from football. I hung my boots up and I did a complete career change, which I then went into personal training. I did my qualification. It wasn't online back then, it was all in person. And then as things move pretty quick, everybody knows that life moves pretty fast. I sort of jumped in the deep end, made a commitment, and I started my journey as a trainer on luxury cruise ships for like Royal Caribbean and stuff like that. So I committed 9 months of my life and I just packed my bags and left home. And it was one of the, like I say, the hardest decisions, but the best decision I could have made.
Yeah, definitely. And then so you've been on cruise ships for some time, and then obviously you started your own business and stuff. So what inspired you to actually start your own business? That's really something I would like to know.
Yeah. So what inspired me was the fact that number one, I had been in a position in football where I had this deep burning desire to make it. I had this energy, but I just kept getting the door shut in my face. I got so much rejection. So what I realized was, it's like, what could I do that would allow me that freedom of choice where nobody sort of goes, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. Well, the only answer was I had to start my business and it had to be my own. It had to be from my own idea, my own passions, my own desires. And at that moment in time, what was sort of my outlet from, because I had bad mental health. I was suffering a bit from depression just because I lost identity from, it being such a big part of my life, football, is I thought, well, what do I enjoy? What do I love doing? And it's like a hobby into a passion, then into profit business. I loved fitness. So that's what got me thinking, do you know what? I've been coached by many people. I understand the importance of having guidance and accountability in a team. So I thought, right, this is my path. I want to go in this. I want to help people. I want to show people what it's like to feel looked after, to feel cared for, because I got that neglect in my later stages of my career. And when I started my fitness business, my slogan was results with care. So I wanted people to, have that full support.
Yeah, it's very interesting to actually hear. I mean, I personally been coaching mindset, as I mentioned, on professional tennis tour, and I've seen how much professional sportsmen and sport women are actually really investing themselves in the sport from really young age to. We're talking about some people start 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, and then that's the only thing they know, and it looks like that was the only thing you knew, and then you had to leave so early at 22, and you mentioned a little bit you had some depression and stuff. So how did you overcome that? How did you overcome the depression after losing everything you've been fighting for years?
Yeah, yeah. So really great question. It was putting myself in a new environment that I'd not been in before. So I had to go somewhere where nobody knew who I was because I didn't know who I was at that moment in time. I was just Luke the footballer. Everybody was like, "Remember me when you're famous." I can't wait to sign and all that peer pressure of where I was from my hometown. So when I sort of went out on the cruise ships and I walked on with my two suitcases, bearing in mind I'd never been on one, so I was sort of in the terminal looking at this massive thing, going, "Wow, that's going to be my home for like 9 months." I walked on, and I can't begin to tell you how light I felt in myself when I was greeted
Hmm.
because nobody knew who I was. So that allowed me to actually find out who I was. It was a reinvention for me, and it was a blessing.
Yeah, definitely. And what's one of the major things that you now help your clients with?
It's belief that they can do it. Because I at that time in my life at 22, I felt like my life was over. I mean, you do, don't you? Catastrophize everything. You sort of get in your own way. Your head's sort of like scrambled because you're like, I'm a failure. I can't believe I've put all this time in. I sacrificed my life for this role and for this career path, and I failed. Because obviously when you're energetic and you're passionate about something, it's demoralizing. It completely strips you apart. So I think for me, it's like I've gone away and set up a career. It's similar, I mean, sport and fitness kind of tie in well, but that, you can set up your own business and you can create a new path in your life at any given moment. You can take a deep breath and then make a decision. You're one decision away from changing your life. And that's sort of what I integrate and embed into the clients I work with.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that's really powerful because and it's 100% true because what happens really is that a lot of times we are sort of chained by our past and we are sort of like dependent on the past and we're like, oh yeah, right now I cannot make this money, I cannot like lose this weight, I cannot get fit, I cannot do a lot of things because I have not done it in the past. But as you said, every moment is a new opportunity and we are every all the time we are in that moment. That's one thing that people actually forget by being consumed by like media, by social media, by everything. We're just bombarded constantly like, oh, you know what, it's so difficult to change, is this, that, the other, but it's like, or you can do it tomorrow. That's another big that's probably that's one of the main reason why so many people actually got did not achieve their dreams because there a lot of people are saying like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll
Yeah.
start that diet tomorrow, I'll start sort of like following up with potential clients tomorrow, I'll start doing all these different things, but do it now. That's really, it's a big thing. You can start doing it now, and as you said, take a deep breath and tell us more about this. I love this subject.
Is it so? Yeah, I think it was. Look, for me, I had been 100 miles an hour. So when you're just talking about, past and future, look, anxiety exists in those two places. I believe that anxiety doesn't exist in the present moment, especially if you're taking action and moving forward. So that's where I was. I had anxiety. I had body dysmorphia at the time. I was basically just tearing myself apart. That's what I was doing because I was in a negative space and I felt lonely as well because
Mhm.
I was at that point where, when you exit football, when you get released, what most footballers won't tell you, well, they will probably say it behind closed doors, but probably what's not publicly spoken about a lot. You see glimpses of it now is that you really feel lost. You've been so used to just being guided every day. You just rock up for training. You have your protein shakes. You have your staff sort of taking you for a nice stretch and rub down, and you have all, and it's just gone. And I'm talking, it's gone in an instant. So your mind starts playing tricks on you to the point where you just sort of you're like telling yourself that you're not worthy, you're not good enough. And I think for me, I I had got great family support. I will always, always say that if it weren't for my family, and again, seeing gaps like the cruise ship would probably never happened, or at least the seed wouldn't have been planted in my garden if it weren't for them saying that to me. And I had honestly, you talk about every excuse that you hear from people. I'm sure people listening to this, we all have excuses. Trust me, I had a whole long list of excuses.
Hmm.
I could have said every single one. If you'd have looked at me, you'd have gone, this guy, what God, he's a drainer to be around, right? I wasn't an achiever at the time. I was just draining. However, what I realized was I had to check in with myself and look at it and go, this what do you want? This big question where you go, what do I want from life? Where do I want to be? And I saw this opportunity to go in this new environment. And I did take a deep breath. And it was a 6-week course. And then I ended up down being in London. And it was all very quick. It seems like a blur these days. But everything I did, do you know what? I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I just want to make that clear. Like, I winged it. I didn't have, I mean, yes, I had a qualification, but, I didn't know what I was doing. I threw myself in on this cruise ship. I had to teach seminars. I had to public speak. I had to do these classes. I'd never, ever, ever done one personal training session. And I got these people throwing hundreds of dollars at me to go, Luke, I'm here. Sort me out, please. Look after me. Strain. And again, that they trusted me and they didn't know me. And I think that's where my barrier of self-limiting beliefs started to break down. And I started to realize, actually, do you know what? I can do this. And then I had people around me that was very supportive, and it just went from strength to strength. Of course, I had moments where then beliefs crept back in. I mean, I still have them today. I mean, I think it's only human to feel this way. But I think what I would sort of share to your audience is that, look, imposter syndrome, that came to me. Self-limiting beliefs, they come and go, However, I manage my state better. And I always realize that we all start somewhere, and that you're all going to start somewhere again. Like, your path will always change or it'll evolve in some way. But the reality is if you just take the action and just throw yourself in, I think that's where you learn the best.
Absolutely. So what's one piece of advice you can share with our audience if they're sort of going through these limiting beliefs, or they're hearing these voices telling them, oh, you're not good enough, you're not going to make it, just like give up and things like that?
Look up, stop looking down, see what's around you, right? So we look down today a lot, at phones, we're heads down, when someone's not sort of, chest is rounded, just look up. There's so much opportunity around you. Take a deep breath, open the chest, and whatever that voice is saying to you, don't ignore it. Don't wait. Don't ignore it. Slow down. Don't numb it. When I say numb it, numbing it could be scrolling on your phone. Numb it could be alcohol, coping mechanisms. We've all been there, right? Listen to the voice, check in with it, and just sit in silence and just have a little bit of a think and just let things slow down. But look up around you and just take it in, what's going on. And trust me, something will come into your path and that light bulb will click. Because if you know deep down that you're designed to change, you'll do it.
Yeah, something that really helps me as well. And I actually, sort of seen this as well. The other day, one of the best tennis players in history was talking about this same thing. And he was saying, like, this is one of the hacks of 21st century, but really it shouldn't be a hack at all. It should be something that we're doing
Okay.
every day. It's like, just take a walk in the nature.
Yes.
Because people forget this, we are sort of like, most of the time we're just surrounded by things that are not natural and that were just like manufactured,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
in our houses, in our cars, in the cities, towns, villages, wherever. But like when we go into the nature, even into the park and stuff, we start seeing the leaves, we start seeing trees, we start seeing this natural structures, natural sort of like looking objects, and that's really really important for mental health. I believe, so that's that's a hack I want to
Yeah.
share as well with our audience.
No, that is brilliant, Tony. I think I completely agree. And it's funny you say that, because that was sort of the second part. When I lost my identity in football, I did also lose my identity in business. But what's helped me reconnect, I guess, with my identity was going in nature. All right. So I do ultra marathons.
Mhm.
But I don't do ultra marathons on road. I do them in mountains.
Yeah,
So I'm surrounded by trees, grass terrain, rock terrain, high altitude. And honestly, it's such a freeing feeling. It's like I can't begin to explain it. So yeah, I can resonate with that.
definitely. I mean, I even remember like a few years back, When I lost one of my businesses, I had a business partner. He had the majority of the business, and I just lost this business because of some issues that came across. And I remember, like, I was living next to the lake, and I walked for a few times around the lake, and my head cleared so much, and I was able to recover so quickly, after losing something that I invested so much time and effort into. So yeah, definitely a great hack. And Luke, thanks so much for being a guest today. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing your tips, and thank you all for watching, listening to this episode. If you liked it, drop us a like, subscribe, and also if you have any questions or comments, just like share them below in the comments, and Luke and I, we can definitely answer those. So see you all in the next episode. All the best, and bye bye.
Thank you.